You don't have to have a fantastic, amazing story, but the story of the person is what really grabs you.
Welcome to the SGV Master Key, a show where you will hear personal stories of triumph over failures and how others successfully navigated the unique landscape that is the San Gabriel Valley. What makes us different? Well, just like you, we have chosen the San Gabriel Valley for our home or businesses or both. We believe it is the people and small businesses that make this community great, and we love to share their stories with you. We always encourage your questions and feedback, and you can find all of our contact information at sgvmasterkey.com. Here are the hosts for the show, Russell Mono and Scott Warmoth.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the SGV Master Key. Thanks for tuning in, and today's show is a little bit different. We want to sort of look back on the past several months, and specifically the first 20 episodes. We are now, this is episode 41, so we're 40 episodes in, and we want to look back and just reflect on where we've come. And Scott, do you remember the first episode?
Yeah, I do remember it. And to be honest, I feel pretty much I conducted it the way I do every show. Andrew Rodriguez was our guest.
Yes.
And he was the mayor of the city of Walnut.
Right.
He's not now, but yes, I do. It's been a great journey.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed what we've been doing.
And today we have, if you notice, if you're watching this show, not on the audio version, but if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm in a different seat, and we also have Victoria with us.
Hi.
Victoria is our behind the scenes warrior. She does a lot for the show, and she's a big part of why we can continue and making things happen, doing all the editing for us.
Yeah, and she does a great job at it. The way it looks on our website,
yes.
It's her work.
It is, yeah. So amazing job, Tori. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you know these episodes just as well as we do, because you actually maybe even more because you have to hear them repeated over and over again. So we'll get your insight too into these episodes. So for you listeners, we want to just touch on these shows, give you a little insight into each episode, and maybe spark some interest to go check it out. And we'll share with you some of our favorite moments or insights from the show. So,
but some general comments are interesting as well.
Sure.
And again, as I said, this has just been a tremendous experience for me. I think every guest that we have had has just brought something to the show and, taught me something. It's been a really great time to just learn, to listen to people and learn from them. And I've really enjoyed it. I think we've had 40 great shows, and the way you work in the show and the way I work in the show, maybe it's changed a little bit. But as I said earlier, I feel the same way at the beginning of a show as I always have. I try to approach it with just an open mind every show.
What do you get from the shows, Tori?
I guess enjoyment. I like editing them and hearing the different stories, even if it's like I'm here helping record it, and then I hear it again, doing the editing. But I like having that repeat listen.
Do you find that you get something new and different from, because you're here every show, right? And you get to listen to it live, but do you get something different or hear something that you didn't get when you're in the editing room?
Yeah, it's I'm generally paying more attention to what I'm listening to when I'm editing, and so pay more attention to like the different kind of story arcs that go through the show, and then to make the intro at the beginning of the show, I need to pick that out.
That's right. So there's a creative element. So Tori is not just editing and cutting; she's also searching for that clip. So if you're a fan of the show and you listen, and there's every show starts with a little clip, like a teaser.
Yes.
And Tori is the one who finding
picks that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So does it take you a long time, or when you come across it, do you know that's what I want?
Usually, yeah. Also, I've started to notice that part usually comes around the half-hour mark. It's just
Really?
something interesting that I've found over and over.
Wow. And, Tori is an amazing help in the sense that you just give her very little direction and she just goes off with it.
So how does it work exactly? She takes the, what do you call it, the digital recording, and
Yes.
just starts to edit it?
Well, she has the raw audio, she has the raw video, and so she has to sync. So that's actually 5 files, 4 video, one audio. She has to sync those and then cut from each camera, create one new file, and then edit out from that new file. It's a tough process. That's just to create the video and the audio. That's just to get something that's viewable or listenable. But then to stylize it, to add the intro, the ad, and the outro, and then to pick the beginning part. That's an artistic, talent that she has.
Right.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to do it? So you've got 1 hour approximately listening to the show, and then you take that raw footage and audio. How long does it take you to create a finished product?
Just doing the editing, it usually takes me like 3 hours on average, I would say.
And I would say that's pretty fast. That's pretty fast.
And it's a great product that you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you also create what you would call the thumbnail sketches or on the website?
So I do the thumbnails on YouTube, and I'm uploading on YouTube. And so once we request that the guest provide a photo and a bio, but they don't always do that. So sometimes Tori will write the bio. So she'll write the bio. So sometimes it's through research about the person. She'll create it and find a picture of them. So she is supporting the website, but she needs to grab the link from YouTube. So I'm taking the finished product, putting it on YouTube, putting the thumbnail on YouTube, and then once it's up there, she's grabbing that and putting it on the website.
Well, I'm so grateful to Russell and to Victoria, because you are the production and creative genius behind this. I mean, I don't do anything. In fact, it kind of interesting maybe just to describe, how a show unfolds. We actually do it here in my house.
Yes.
In Pasadena, and we do it on Fridays. Quite often, if we do 2 shows, we maybe do it at 1 and 3 in the afternoon, or this
2
kind
and
of
3:15.
2 and 3:15. Yeah, it takes about an hour to set up, which Russell and Tori generally do, because I'm not a person who understands electronics or production or anything. I wouldn't know what to do, but you set up. I guess those who see on YouTube see what you do. I mean, we've got a soundboard, we've got 3 microphones, 4 cameras.
Yeah.
And, it all has to be set up. And then we welcome a guest.
Right. Well, there's prep, before that. We have to find the guest.
And Russell has to do a lot of work even beforehand.
Right. To speak with them, get them comfortable, let them know the layout, the format of the show, have them prepped with their item of significance, their SGV3.
Mm-hmm.
But surprisingly, getting them from wherever they're coming from to the actual location is the hardest part.
Yeah, because this location is hard to find.
Yeah.
And it's a bit inconvenient with parking and so on.
Sure. So, well, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. Every guest is really interesting. I always learn something, and the show sort of morphed into what it has become, right? And I like that we don't really filter who can come on. As long as you have a connection and you have a story, and of course, if you're not, just a jerk, that's a prerequisite. But it is really, really interesting to see the things that we've learned by having guests on the show.
The other thing about our guests is almost universally, I would say, they have felt very comfortable being on the show and have indicated that to us. It was a good show for them to do. They enjoyed it.
Yeah. So Tori hears our voice more than anybody, right? And I already know, based on my listening to audiobooks and podcasts, if you can't stand the voice, it's hard. It's very hard to listen to over and over again. And what I understand from feedback is that both of us have a voice that is at least tolerable, if not pleasant. That it's not overwhelming to hear. And some people, they do have a very difficult voice to hear over and over again.
Yeah, well, I've learned, as I've heard as we do the show, your voice, I think, is actually a great voice. I never would have expected it to be as I think perfect for a show like this.
Really?
As it is. Yeah. It seems to be, and we've had a lot of comments from people who have said your voice is good. Also, your questioning is very insightful, very thoughtful. So, yeah, I think some of those, we've just been lucky that we have fit the show, And
maybe another thing that our listeners don't really know is that we don't preload or prepare anything really for the show.
No. Quite often, I don't even know who the guest is. You're the one who preps them. I may know who they are, but I don't know anything about them. I do really like to engage it with a complete sort of a blank tablet approach.
Right. And I had mentioned to you about Larry King when he died, and he said that he never prepared for any guest, and that was really shocking to me. It made me feel good too. And he said that he wanted to have the curiosity still there, genuine and authentic.
Yeah. So right.
Well, let's get into episode 1. Episode 1 for me was a little bit nerve-wracking. I was nervous. I could feel my heart beating, as the microphones went on, and I could sense that. And I was really thankful that Andrew was here as a guest. One, he's your friend, but also that he was willing to come on to a brand new show with no credibility. We were just getting started, and Andrew, if you're listening, thank you for being that first guest for us.
Yeah, that was important. He was somebody I knew. I invited him on, and it turned out, I honestly don't remember day one how I felt. I just, can't specifically remember. But yeah, I think we did get through that show very well, and I liked Andrew sharing his insights about being the youngest mayor in the county of Los Angeles at the time.
That's right. So episode 2 was Cassie Huynh. And episode 2, Cassie is my friend from high school, elementary school. And she shared her story as an immigrant growing up in Monterey Park. And she was, episode 2, but as I recall hearing many other stories of people growing up immigrants in the San Gabriel Valley, there was this, similarity, right? Sometimes growing up in what she had shared in Monterey Park around many Asians, you just feel like this is how the whole world is until you sort of leave the San Gabriel Valley.
Yeah, I specifically remember her telling how when she went to University of California, Santa Cruz, this was so eye-opening to her because it was the first time she had been out of the San Gabriel Valley, first time she was not sort of embedded in this community. But I remember her as extremely well-spoken. I was quite impressed by her because I learned that you don't have to have a fantastic, amazing story, but the story of the person is what really grabs you, and she was able to enunciate it so well.
Okay, and episode 3 was Rob Howe, the rocket scientist. No, interplanetary navigator.
That's right.
Yes.
Rob was also a friend of mine and has been for 25 years. And yeah, he was JPL. They guided the rockets to Mars.
Yes.
And the navigation on Mars. And yeah, he was really fascinating. as a real, honest rocket scientist.
What's funny is, to me anyway, is that when you hear rocket scientist, maybe it evokes some sort of image of a person, personality quirks. And I think Rob fits a lot of those.
Yeah, right. Something like an absent-minded professor, or
Yes.
It definitely. He is like that, but an absolutely great person and a genius of a mind.
And he had such a passion for the things that he was interested in, right?
Oh yeah.
And I remember him describing the telescope, the portable telescope.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah. That was
Is that what he brought as a?
Yes, it was the
right. Yes.
red.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's episode 3, if you're interested in that. Episode 4 is Marcus Chan, my high school friend. So that was a story about entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And Marcus, who got kicked out of college. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Now that you mention it, right.
Kicked out of college. Dad cut him off, didn't speak with him for 2 years. And that led to him having to find a job. And so he took a job in learning sales, computer sales. And he was having to research on, I think at that time was only like Yahoo. The internet was in its infancy. And he developed that skill to continue to go out and build relationships. And then he said for his own business, they were $500,000 in the red the first year. Second year, $250,000 in the black. And the third year, I think it was $10 million.
Yeah, he was a real success story.
Yeah. And now he owns the Yogurtland Doghouse, and he still owns the Polymer One America, which is the plastics company.
Yeah, he had really turned business into an art.
Yeah. But so you met him, right? He's my friend, and you would never really know, right? Like that he's very young and very successful like that.
Right. Yeah.
Very down to earth. Okay, episode 5. If you're into golf, episode 5 is Angel Yin, the professional LPGA golfer. Yeah, and you've met Angel a few times before. Angel is my friend and client.
Right.
She's a professional golfer. And she shared her story of coming to America, going back to China, and then coming back to America. And what I remember from her episode was a person who knew at 6 years old that was what she was going to do.
Yeah, so she was motivating herself to become what she is now, for 12 years before she actually did it. But yeah, at such a young age, that's quite an accomplishment, I guess.
Yeah. So many people don't know what they want to do, even entering into college.
Oh yeah, right.
Right. And I just think, what could I have done if I had that kind of focus at age 6?
Yeah. Well, how many people really can do that? I mean, I'll bet you of all of our guests, she's the only one who, had charted her course that early. Mm-hmm. But she's a real lively personality.
Oh, yes. Oh, and she said that she was all over the place and only through golf that calmed her down.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But that was her sort of her zen.
Yeah. And so she's still a golfer. She's still on tour, and she's actually maybe even playing right now.
I believe she's only about 22 right now. Is that right?
21.
21.
She'll be 22 this year.
Yeah. And she's probably in the PGA. She had a good tournament a couple of weeks ago, didn't she?
At the US Open.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a top 10 finish. What was amazing about that is she had a top 10 finish despite shooting 8 over one day.
Yeah, as I remember, I looked at like on Friday and saw her results and thought she was out of it. Mm-hmm. And then you told me a few days later she was in the top 5 or 10.
Yeah. Okay. So episode 6, Eva Lin.
Eva is a real estate broker and a very good one. And she's here in Pasadena. What continues to amaze me about Eva is, she was born in China and spent, as I remember, she came over here in high school. But her English is so flawless. I mean, it's just amazing how she, without much of an accent, and just speaking perfect English. It's just very admirable.
And if I remember correctly, she came over as a teenager to Florida, and then her family eventually came to Southern California. And like you said, she's a successful real estate broker.
Right.
And so there were some similarities there too with being an immigrant coming here, starting with their family, or having to build themselves up and becoming successful.
Yes, that's been a recurring theme.
Yeah. Episode 7. So episode 7 is where Victoria came on board with us, and so she started with us. And episode 7 is Jeff Julian. Jeff
Julian, I knew because he was my daughter's swim coach for years at the Rose Bowl Aquatic Center and the Rose Bowl national team. And he was, a very successful swimmer himself, and would have been an Olympic competitor if he had not been injured just before the Olympics in whatever year that was. But so he was always very successful, but his incredible story is how he overcame stage 4 cancer.
Yes. Yeah. I remember, maybe I don't want to take away Tori's thunder. Do you remember that episode?
Yeah.
So I remember him talking about getting knocked down to only hope.
Oh, yeah.
And how all the doctors were basically telling him, you're going to die in X amount of weeks. And this one doctor gave him his hope back, and how powerful that was. And I was like, wow, that's amazing and inspiring. Do you remember that, Tori?
Yeah, for the clip at the beginning, you told me that's what I would do. But you can choose a different clip if you think so. But when I got to that part, I was like, yeah, that's a good part to open the show on.
Sure. Yeah.
Of all of our interesting and inspirational stories, I believe to this day that is still the one I consider the most inspirational.
And he still has the lead for the most audio downloads, not video, but audio downloads. He's
is that
1.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well deserved, because his story is an incredible story of hope. And shortly after we did the show, he was again diagnosed with cancer.
Stomach cancer, right?
I believe so. And again, he had to go through, all of that emotional up and down. And as I understand, the last I heard, he was overcoming that as well.
Wow.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, that really is a great show of, overcoming tremendous odds and struggle and difficulty. Yeah, if you're wanting to feel inspired, check out episode number 7.
Jeff Julian.
So episode number 8, this was going to be our first guest, but ended up being the 8th. Do you remember who that was?
Sandy Roscoe.
Yes.
Yeah. Sandy from the San Gabriel Chamber of Commerce, and I've worked with her for 4 or 5 years, and yeah, she's just one of those people who just get things done. She's just, she just has a purpose, and she wants to fulfill her purpose. And, right now that's helping businesses, and she gets quite passionate about that.
Do you remember Sandy?
Yeah, I remember editing her.
Were you here at that show?
No, I wasn't here.
But just editing?
Yeah, I was just editing.
You chose you chose a moment of her describing going back to, I think the gardens or something around the church, right?
The mission.
That's right. Yeah, where she was describing coming back there or something.
Yeah, to help her find peace from her sister passing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, really, people feel able to talk about really powerful and significant events in their life. I've been privy to many of those conversations in my life, but I do recognize that is a special thing that you and I are able to get from our guests.
Well, people do like to talk about themselves, and I don't mean that, in any way where they are doing it, in a braggardly way, if braggardly is a word, I don't even know, but they're we encourage them to open up, and people like to share their life with others.
Yeah. But maybe in this setting, they don't feel that it's going to have the audience that it does because it's very intimate here.
Yeah.
But it is going to get released into the world and for everyone, whoever wants to listen to it. And that's a pretty, it can be very scary to have your story out there. So.
Right. Some people have been a little bit nervous to actually start, the show.
Yes.
But I think they generally get into the groove of things pretty fast.
Yeah. Okay. See if you can guess number 9.
Was it Isolfi?
No. Close. Isolfi was 12.
Okay, 9. I can't remember.
Albert Chang.
Oh, Albert. Yeah. Of course.
So Albert is a CPA by trade, but he's a friend, father, client. And his story, so being a CPA in the San Gabriel Valley is just what he does. But his story was jaw-dropping at points when he was describing how his family escaped communist China, what his grandmother did to get his mom and his uncle away, and then their experience of war again in Korea, and then to be reunited 35 years later. That was an astounding story, to see his mother again. Yes.
Going back to China and seeing her, was it 35 years?
Well, his dad was trying to write a letter because his dad got a letter from his Albert's grandmother after 35 years. That just blew me away. So he didn't even know, if she was alive or anything.
Yeah. No, that was an incredible story. Yes.
What did you pick for that intro? Oh, something about remembering war or something, or treasuring what we have, something like that. Yeah.
I think they took a boat from China to Korea to escape.
Yeah. And Albert, I love Albert. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. And that was something new that I learned about him, that history. And you could see as he's telling this story, how meaningful it was that this was recorded and remembered, that meant something to him. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Who's number 10? Let's see who's going to know. Do you know?
I don't. Number 10.
Joseph Del Toro.
Oh, yeah, Joseph. Right.
So Joseph is my friend, owner of Matador Performance Center. And, so he's a business owner here in Pasadena, a successful one. He made it through the pandemic where a lot of gyms actually closed down. And his story is, if you remember, one of a very difficult childhood.
Yeah, I do remember that. He grew up not far from here in I think it's called
Lincoln Heights.
Lincoln Heights, right. And he grew up sort of troubled. Mm-hmm. And, it was a real story of overcoming, a very difficult childhood or youth.
Right.
And discovering finally, because he didn't exactly know what he wanted to do, even into his early 20s.
Yeah.
And then it all started to come together for him. And now, as you said, he runs a very good gym.
Right. Do you recall Joseph's episode?
Yeah. And one of the stories that really stood out to me was, I think he was teaching kids and how that really helped him, and how that was, he really liked seeing them come to life.
The troubled youth.
Yeah, the troubled youth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that too.
That's interesting. So just as you say that, it's healing for, I find that it's healing for myself and other people to once you have overcome something that you've gone through, that the last bit of healing comes when you help others overcome what you've gone through. Because now right? Now you know what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, and you know the words and the ways that are going to connect with them. And so you're most able to help them. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Someone's got to get one right.
Number 11. Okay.
Number 11.
I'll get number 12 right now. Number 11.
I think Tori knows.
was that Christian or?
Bingo.
Oh, yes, right.
So episode 11 was Christian Esteban of Chase Family Market in Pasadena, the first and only Filipino market in Pasadena.
I remember him being a big star in the Philippines. What was the show that he was?
I don't remember.
It was something like, the equivalent of America's Got Talent one of those kind of shows. And he became a big star being a guest on that show in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. But now he's got a very close family run business at the market.
Yes. And so if you live in the San Gabriel Valley, Chase Family Market is in Pasadena. It's on Allen Street, just south of the 210. And they have food there. It's not a restaurant. Well, I guess it is a restaurant. They have minimal seating there, but they make turon, which is a Filipino dessert with the deep fried like banana and crispy outside. You have to try it. It's really, really good, especially if you get it hot. Do you remember that episode? Mm-hmm. What do you remember from that episode?
Yeah, that he was a star in the Philippines, which I found pretty cool to hear about. And then also, like, he kept coming back to family in the San Gabriel Valley.
Oh yeah. And he is the record holder right now for the most views on YouTube.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's like maybe 500, around 500.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Who's episode 12?
Isolfi, finally.
Okay. This is Thomas's favorite episode. He told me today. This is Thomas's favorite.
That's really interesting. Isolfi was just a great dynamic speaker.
Yes.
And that's what he does, in his life. Mm-hmm. And he, I remember him talking about, playing basketball and, playing it. I believe he went on to a small college where he could play.
Concordia.
Okay.
Is that in Oregon?
I know he went to school somewhere in Oregon. I don't remember the name of the school, but he was just dynamic. I mean, if you want a show where you're just going to listen to a dynamic speaker, and he laid things out very clearly and, very motivational speaker for sure.
Yes.
And his message was, motivating.
And he's a very successful entrepreneur in many ways. What stood out most to me in that episode was when he had $1 million in the bank, drove up in his Mercedes into his driveway, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not happy."
Yeah, right.
That really stood out to me. That and from that point, he made a pivot to pursue things in life that were actually going to make him happy. Yes,
yeah, and that was what was so motivational, about his story to me.
Yeah,
the change he made.
Yeah. So for me, a moment that stands out would be when he's talking about his little girls. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I had to just remember the time frame for that. And then when my dad came home, I was like, "Dad, listen to this," mm-hmm. just because it reminded me of my sisters, and I thought Daddy would like it. So.
What was it?
I don't exactly remember, but I think it was how the girls are wrapped around they have him wrapped around their fingers. Or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a great show. Episode 11 is Sophie Taylor.
No, that was 12.
Oh, I'm sorry, 12.
Yeah.
Episode 13 is Laura Arslanian.
Yeah, Laura, again, another very successful broker here in the San Gabriel Valley. And what I remember learning about her, and I've known her for several years, but I didn't know she'd gone to law school and decided not to follow up on law school. She was also one of those, the second generation of an immigrant family, and they are driven to succeed or driven to accomplish something, by their parents. And, this is the type of thing she went through as well.
Yeah. I learned from her, Armenians are, I don't know how large the population here is in the San Gabriel Valley, but there's a lot of Armenians here, specifically in Glendale. I knew that Armenians came from Armenia, Russia, Lebanon, Iran. But I learned a little bit of history of why they came, where they settled here. That was really interesting for me from that episode. So if you're Armenian and if you don't know some of that history, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was a real good show for that. What I didn't realize is that their arrival to Glendale was relatively recent. You know, I had thought, well, it probably has always been an Armenian city, but as I recall, it was really only in the last 20, maybe 30 years that it started to build that way.
What do you remember from that show?
Yeah, the different time frames that the different Armenians came over, and then also her explaining like the stark difference between before when she went back to Lebanon, right? And then like that was like during was it communism or socialism?
In Lebanon, they were having a war.
Yeah.
In the 80s and 90s, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And so like how that was, like it seemed like stuck in time. And when she went back there a couple years ago, it seemed
I think you're talking about when she went back to actually Armenia, which was part of the USSR.
Oh, that's right.
Armenia.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly, and how it hadn't really developed or changed or grown, you know, with the rest of the world.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember that. You just said something, Armenian city. That's interesting to think of a city as one ethnic group, but Glendale is like that, isn't it?
You certainly have that impression, yeah.
You wouldn't be wrong if you said the whole city is Armenian.
I believe it's got the biggest Armenian population in the country.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if you get this right. Who's episode 14?
Give us a hint.
It's your guest. We need to insert the Jeopardy.
Yeah. Who is? Okay, I know. I don't believe it was Rosalind Woods. I can't think.
Jay Chen.
Oh, Jay Chen. Okay. Jay, yeah. Jay is now running for Congress as we speak. There will be an election. I'm guessing maybe it's this year. In fact, yeah, it would be this year. He's running for Congress. This is actually his third try. Jay was a veteran, and he was in naval intel, and he most recently went back into service about 2 years ago. He spent a year in the I think he was mainly in Kuwait, but it was servicing the Iraq operations.
Yes.
And yeah, he left his he left his family and his two young boys for service of his country.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're a member of the military, you're aware of other people who are in the military. You're aware of the things that are how the military is supposed to be. So when you see someone else or you see a movie, you automatically recognize that's right or that's not right. And so when I see him, even if he's not in uniform, there's a way that he speaks, the way that he carries himself, the way that he moves even, that I can recognize, okay, this person is military.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Because you were in the Army.
Yes.
And so you had that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And they teach you a lot of different things, but how you carry yourself, how you walk even is reflected in your posture and your gait. Well,
I was watching a World War II video last night, and it struck me. I watched an Army group marching, and they had to be complete in lockstep, I guess you would say. I mean, quite amazing that they can and carry that for extended periods of time to stay in the same, to stay in sync.
Sure. Do you remember Jay's episode?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was interesting hearing him say that everybody should have be in like some sort of service, whether it's like the military or like I think he also mentioned maybe the police force.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I do remember that now. That was a great observation he made.
Yeah. And he's from Taiwan, where service is obligatory.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, you know, it was not just military. It was like some sort of service to your country.
Oh, and the reason that he gave was that so you can understand how to work with others. Wasn't that what the reason was? Or no, or am I wrong?
No, yeah, it's work with others and then also meet others from different places that you've never been, like the
yes.
southern people, or like he mentioned one guy was from maybe the north and he met like his first African American in the military.
Right.
Well, I remember you've even commented on that before.
Oh yes. In basic training in Fort Knox, Kentucky, I met people, white people who had never seen a black person in person in their life, and black people who had never seen a white person in their life in person. Even now, as I say that, my face is expressing how I felt there, that it was so unbelievable. Needless to say, neither of those people had ever seen an Asian person in their life.
Oh yeah, a lot of people had never met someone like you.
That's right. And so they thought I knew karate. They really did. Like, that's not a joke. They really thought I knew kung fu or something. Okay, one more before we take a break. Who's episode 15? You have to get this right.
Is it?
That's your clue.
I have to get it right. Did we have a guest named Wright?
You have to get it right.
Oh my goodness. 15. Okay, I need a hint.
It's you.
Oh, it's me. Oh, wow.
So, yeah, episode 15, you can listen and learn about our host here, Scott.
Wow. And that was the first of, I think I did three, right?
Yes.
Was I 16 and 17 also?
No.
Or okay.
No.
Okay.
So it's 3 parts. And the first part is your early childhood. Right?
Okay.
Growing up. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's, I can guarantee I've never listened to it.
Well, I'm not sure that I learned something new in those episodes, but it's definitely an interesting insight into who you are, and you need to understand that portion of your life to understand the next. And I think, going forward after that, you get this picture, this fuller picture of who you are. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Put her on the spot.
Yeah. Like,
It's a good episode. I liked it. It's also the first time we were in this singing arrangement.
Oh,
where
that's right.
I was here and doing the soundboard.
Oh, that's right, because Russell conducted the interview of me from that
right.
seat. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed the show. I mean, I enjoyed doing it because people like to talk about themselves. So I think I wanted to do more.
Well, let's break there. We're going to go through 16 through 20, but let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
The legal process can be intimidating. You don't know where to start and you're unsure of what to expect. The attorneys and staff at the law offices of Scott Warmoth have been serving the San Gabriel Valley for over 35 years, helping people just like you navigate through the legal process and ensuring you're treated fairly. You can find them at law888.com or call 626-282-6868. That's 626-282-6868.
All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're going over episodes 1 through 20 of the show, just recapping and recalling things that stand out to us about each episode. And we are on episode 16. And let's see if Tori can guess it. What's episode 16? She. It's a she. That's the clue.
Is she the mediator?
That's right. Bingo.
Oh. Randy
Sotomayor. Yeah. So she's a member of the San Gabriel Chamber, and she's a lawyer, and she is a mediator.
And the other thing I remember, this was kind of the first of many times where we really got into our love of climbing the foothills here in Pasadena, because she became a runner and runs in the hills. And, many of our guests have had that same experience and love. And she's probably one of the first that we had where we really got into that discussion.
Yes. I don't think anybody wants to have to use a mediator, right? Because that means that you have a dispute that you need resolution to. But when I listen to her and I'm listening to her approach to conflict resolution between businesses or parties or whatever, she seems like the kind of person that I would want to mediate something.
Yeah, well, a good mediator is just such an invaluable tool. And more lawyers are using mediators to help resolve cases rather than go through an entire trial or litigation process. Mediators are becoming more and more in demand. And as you say, a good mediator like Randy is someone that you can feel comfortable with.
They tried to convince my wife and I to do that.
And you didn't want to?
No.
And why?
Because you would have to divulge. You'd have to have good faith, right, to enter the mediation.
Oh, and you didn't think you could get that from all the parties involved?
That's right.
Yeah.
And then so once you divulge information, and then if you end up going to trial, I don't think that would have been a smart move.
Yeah. Generally, what you divulge is confidential. It can't go beyond the mediation. But in order to really make it work well, the parties do have to have good intent.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Episode, what was she? She was 16, right? Okay. Now you have to get this right.
Was it me again?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm, 1 for 5 now?
You got it. Okay. Episode 17 is Scott Wormuth, part 2.
Wow.
And what we talked about there was, I think you were entering like your adult life, right? And going into the Peace Corps.
Okay. So the 3 bold acts probably were in that session.
And again, you get to learn, about your life and the development of who you are. I think those episodes are great, and your firm, a lot of them had listened to it, and they got to know you a lot better.
Right. Yeah. Actually, we had a little contest at the office, and you set up a series of questions, and the employees who got the answers all correct the fastest won a gift. Yeah.
Do you remember that show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was it interesting?
Yeah.
Do you remember the 3 bold acts?
I think, was it New York, the Peace Corps, and then going into law school?
Yeah.
Bingo.
Wow. You should have won.
4 for 4.
She should get a gift card.
So check out that show. I think if you listen to part 1, you have to listen to 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. You have to listen to 2 and 3. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Episode 18. This is one of my guests. It's a guy.
Is it a donut shop owner?
No. My impression was he was so much more fascinating than I anticipated. David Cutter.
Oh, David Cutter. Yeah, right.
David Cutter is a pianist and a piano teacher here in Pasadena. He has, I think he said, 9 pianos in his home.
Yeah.
6 arranged in his garage. And he's learned in this very special way where it's an ensemble piece where pianos are playing together.
Yes. Yeah, I do remember that. Right.
No, yeah, that's one of my favorite episodes because I really like the piano. And so hearing about the 5 different pianos playing at the same time sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very good show. Yes.
And here's someone, I'm always looking for passion, like what drives people. That's part of, who I am at the core. And when I'm watching him speak and talking about music, you can just see it's just flowing through him.
And I remember I was able to ask him some questions I had about music theory and he was a very passionate, as you say. He just loved what he did.
Yes.
And that's another thing we have learned so much from doing these shows is people with passion, how they are satisfied with their life. They're pursuing what they want.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the other things I remember about that, he said that kids should start at age 3. Not rigorously, practicing, but just being introduced.
Yeah, getting some familiarity with musical instruments. Yeah.
All right.
Rosalind. Number 19.
That's right. You
That's
got
the
it.
one I remember
Okay.
from when you were talking about it beforehand.
So who's Rosalind?
Rosalind Woods is an interior designer here in Pasadena, a noted designer. She did the recent renovation of the Pasadena Playhouse, and has just had a lot of notable clients and does beautiful work. And I know her because she did my house here.
Right. And she was the first guest to bring an item where she couldn't actually bring it, and we had to put pictures on the video. That is a show where you should check out the video portion. 'Cause
What was her item?
Your house.
Oh, my house. Oh, really? It was actually shown on that episode?
Oh yeah. We put a montage clip of pictures from your house, to music.
Oh.
And so you get to see the full house, not just what you see on the show. So it was really nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't seen that.
Now's the time to admit that I think maybe I've seen one of our shows.
Wow. On the
Maybe.
video.
On video, and I don't think I've listened to. I think I probably listened to maybe one. I'm afraid to listen. Now I know I should, because it's the way to improve. But I have not listened or watched anything other than maybe one or two shows. So have you seen every show
Yes.
and listened to everyone, seen every one?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I listen to either listen to it or I watch it, but I can't do both.
And I know Tori has, because
Every
she
single
has to. It's her job.
Yeah, every single one. Okay, so we're coming up on the end of this show and the end of our list. So we went through 1 through 20. Scott has gotten 1 out of 7 right, and Tori is, I think, 5 for 5 or 6 for 6. So number 20, last one. Who's got it? Clue? This is my guest. It's a he. He's in the legal world.
Oh, yes.
Fall.
Judge Fall.
She got it faster than you.
Yeah. Yes, she
So-
takes it.
Episode 20, Judge Tim Fall. And he is a California Superior Court judge, and he teaches judicial ethics
Right.
to other judges.
He was the first one we have done where he was not present here in the location. He's a judge in Northern California.
Right.
Yes.
With connections to the San Gabriel Valley. I mean, influencing all over California, I think, if you're teaching judicial ethics. But
Right.
his son went to Azusa Pacific. He had written a book, and his story was to share about his mental health when he was challenged for his is it a seat?
Well, for his position as judge.
So in 2008, he was challenged, and I think he said immediately upon hearing the news that he was going to be challenged, he had gone into severe anxiety.
Yeah, I do remember that, and how brave it was for him to talk about that, especially as a judge,
Yes.
because you're expected to have judicial temperament as you're running your courtroom.
What's interesting? I saw him. He had written the book, and so he was doing several podcasts at the time, and he was posting the podcast on his Facebook page and describing the experience. And he described his experience with us, that we grilled him on being a judge.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. And he's also humorous too, but that was what he put.
Was it critical or?
No.
Oh,
no.
I see.
I think the other podcast, the hosts were maybe very comical and lighthearted, and and that's sort of not the tone of our show, right? So I guess we were asking him questions that he was it just different feel.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, that's 1 through 20. Definitely check those out. We wanted to do this show so you could get a glimpse of, if you're a new listener, if you haven't listened to the show, you can get a glimpse of them in one show and maybe choose a few of them to check out if you haven't already. Of those, I would say my favorite is probably Marcus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You were very close to him.
Yeah, and the inspiring part from that is often people think that if they looked at him, I think that they often would assume that his path to success was very maybe predictable or took a
because he
common
came
path.
from a successful family.
Yes.
And it was expected of him to
Yes.
follow. Yeah.
Yeah. But, to be kicked out of college,
Right,
to be cut
yeah.
off from his dad, to not have contact for 2
Yeah,
years
right.
and have to figure it out for himself. Those are the stories I think that really can inspire people.
Yeah.
Stories like that.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Well, it has been a great, 40 episodes in the first 20 we just went through. Yeah. I think as we discuss them, I really do see the real value in them. I mean, the greatness of them, which is not me or us. It's the guest bringing the story.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's another episode for you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for spending your time with us. This is a little bit different format, but I hope you can get something from this episode and hopefully check out those and more. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave us a message.
And again, thank you to every one of our listeners who, keeps us doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel this is a great thing to do if we had one listener, but, to continue to build it, I'm really thankful for those that are out there listening.
And I've said thank you many times before, but Tori is really a hero of our show. Our show
Tori.
does not run without Tori. So thank you, Tori.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Tori's the foundation.
Okay, so stay tuned next time. We'll be going through 21 to 40. Thanks again.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the SGV Master Key. You can find the full back catalog of the SGV Master Key at sgvmasterkey.com and wherever you get your podcasts. This show was produced and edited by Russell Mono and Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks again for listening or watching. We'll see you again real soon in the next episode.
Nice mother. No, kind mother.